Mr. Chair, we're now live.
Thank you. Good evening and welcome to the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustment meeting for July 29th, 2020. This meeting of the Committee of Adjustment is being held electronically and live streamed on the internet. Due to the COVID-19 emergency and requirements for physical distancing, no in-person attendance is permitted at this meeting. All regular practices and procedures of the committee continue to apply during the electronic meeting. If we encounter any technical difficulties, we may take a brief recess while they are resolved. Thank you for your patience, and we'll now proceed with the meeting. Before we move on to the mandate of the committee, do any members of committee have any disclosures of interest on the applications before us this evening?
No conflict of interest.
Seeing none, thank you. And if we look for adoption of the minutes from the previous meeting from June
24th.
June 24th. Thank you, Cecil.
Okay.
Right, moved by Wasif, seconded Cecil. All those in favor? All in favor, and meetings from the June 24th meeting have been adopted. The Committee of Adjustment is bound by the Planning Act to assess each application based upon its ability to meet 4 tests: that the application is minor in nature, is desirable for the appropriate development or use of the lands, and finally is in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaw. The process for tonight's meeting will be conducted in the following manner. The applicant and/or agent will be called upon, and at their option, they may provide a brief description of the minor variance application they have applied for. Committee members may ask questions of the applicant and/or agent, after which anyone with a direct interest in the application will be given the opportunity to speak either for or against the application. Once a motion is put forward by a committee member, there will be no further input from the applicant or anyone having interest in the application. After a decision is made, notice will be sent out and there will be a 20-day appeal period. Anyone having interest in the application may appeal to the local planning appeals tribunal within 20 days of the decision of the committee. After 20 days, this decision shall become final and binding. If a building permit or other approvals are required, they may be filed during the appeal period. However, no building permits will be issued until the appeal period is over and the decision becomes final and binding. A respectful decorum during this evening's proceedings is expected of all present at all times. And just to introduce the members of the committee for this evening, we have Cecil Ramnath, Wasif Ahmed, and I'm the chair of the committee, Greg Whitfield. With us from Town of Ajax staff this evening is Caitlin Grout, Secretary Treasurer and Senior Planner with the Town of Ajax. The first application for tonight's meeting is application A12-20 for 6 Sims Drive. Can the applicant or agent please prepare themselves? Caitlin, can you confirm if notice was served and determine whether any responses were received?
Yep, notice was served and no written responses were received.
Great, thank you. And is the applicant with us this evening?
Yes, I am.
Great, thank you. So to the applicant, town staff has recommended Committee of Adjustment approve the application, subject to the condition and staff report that the subject variants apply only to the property municipally known as 6 Sims Drive, as shown on the site plan submitted with this application and found as figure 2 in this report, or the decision shall become null and void. Have you received a copy of this report? Do you have any questions or comments on the conditions?
Is this the question directed to me?
Yes.
Yes, I received it. It's pretty self-explanatory. Everything's pretty accurate in the report.
Great, thank you. And then just to reiterate, because I got ahead of myself a bit, the variance requested this evening is to permit a setback of 0.1 meters from the exterior lot line to pool equipment, including a pump, heater, and filter, whereas this bylaw requires a minimum setback of 5 meters from any exterior lot line.
That's correct.
And for the applicant, do you have anything to add to the application this
Well,
evening?
I would have preferred to have my my pool pad alongside of my house. The only problem with that is that it wouldn't have met the gas code for the heater because it needs to be within gas regulations of 10 feet from a window, 10 feet from either side of a window, or vent, which prohibited me from having that pool pad in that on the side of the house on the north side. And the same thing applied for the south side of the house. Also had a window that would not have been within 10 feet of gas regulation. So the only course of action is that the only way that we could have done this to have the pool pad is either have it in the middle of my yard, which would have been 15 feet from the property line, but I would not been able to use my backyard where all the grass and sod would have been, because it would have been an obstruction of recreation area. So the best choice was to be in the corner of the yard, and understand it needs to be within 15 feet of the property line. But you know, it's actually inside my backyard fence, within 6 to 8 inches from the fence. None of my neighbors, I've had all my neighbors look at it. They don't have any concerns about it. This was right prior to having the notices that I assume were sent out to my neighbors, and they think it's a great location. Actually, it's away from the house. It's in the corner of the lawn, corner of the property. Very minimal noise, because it's a high-speed variable pump, but with little noise. Everybody seems to be quite happy with it.
Great. Thank you. And do members of committee have any questions or comments for the applicant or for staff? Cecil?
Yeah, yeah, for the chair, my question is really to staff, and it alludes to what the applicant was just talking about with respect to noise. But I understand that the placement of the equipment is with respect to a TSSA requirement, and I see that staff has signed off on it. I was wondering whether staff can give me a sense as to the noise impact from any of this pool-related equipment.
Sure. So when someone submits a pool permit, it goes through the bylaw services department for review. A pool would be considered an acceptable use in any residential property. So no noise impact study or anything of that nature would be required. It's similar to an air conditioning unit. So that would be permitted to be installed at a residential property with no concerns from a noise perspective.
Okay, thank you. Would it be about the same noise as an air conditioning unit, or would it be less? I would think, I'm not sure.
I don't have those details specifically, but it's not, sorry, a noise study is not part of a regular pool permit. So all pool pumps, I guess, that are approved by the manufacturer, they are within the acceptable noise levels for residential use.
Gotcha, thank you.
Great. Any further questions or comments from members of committee? Seeing none, in that case, if we can look for a motion on the application, please. Wasif?
Mr. Chair, I move that the committee approve application A1220 on the basis that it is minor in nature, meets the 4 tests, and subject to one condition of the current report.
Great, thank you. And if there's a seconder?
Second.
Cecil, great. And all those in favor? Thank you. Application A12/20 for 6 Sim Drives approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
May I leave the meeting now?
Yeah,
Or-
you're all set, unless you want to hang around and follow along with the meeting.
It's okay. Thank you so much. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Have a good night.
Take care.
Okay, moving on to application A13/20 for, pardon me, 949 Audley Road South. The variance requested is to bring a minimum setback of 2.6 meters from the rear lot line to an attached covered patio, whereas the bylaw requires a setback from the rear lot line of 7.5 meters. Is the applicant and/or agent with us this evening?
Hang on, let me help her with her computer. 1 second.
Yes, so I am Binan Henudi, the agent for this project.
Great, thank you so much. For the agent, or pardon me, Caitlin, was notice served on this application, and were any responses received?
Notice was served, no written responses were received.
Great, thank you. For the applicant, committee has, Town staff has written a report recommending approval of the application to permit a setback of 2.6 meters from the rear lot line to the attached covered patio, subject to 3 conditions. One, that the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 949 Audley Road South, and as shown on figures 2 and 3 within the report, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that the owner or applicant maintain the historical drainage on the property and provide the necessary eaves troughs and downspouts discharging to grade on a splash pad from the roof structure, or this decision shall become null and void. And 3, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Have you received a copy of this report?
Yes, we did.
Great. And do you have any questions or comments on the conditions recommended by staff?
No, it is acceptable.
Great, thank you. Well, if you have anything to add to the application, now is your chance.
No, it's okay.
Okay, great. And do members of committee have any questions or comments for the applicant? Seeing none. Okay, well, if there are no questions or comments, we can look for a motion on the application.
Mr. Chair.
Cecil?
Mr. Chair, subject to all 3 conditions as provided by staff, I've moved to approve minor variance application A1320 for the construction of unenclosed attached covered patio as submitted. As it meets the 4 tests, minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the land, and it's in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and zoning bylaws. I move to approve.
Great, thank you, Cecil. And do we have a seconder? Wasif, great. And all those in favor? Great, and application A13/20 has been approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We have to leave right now, right?
Yeah, you can leave if you'd like, or if you'd like to stay on, you can stay on for the
Okay,
review.
thank you.
Your
Thank
choice.
you. Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you. Bye.
Have a good evening. Okay, as discussed prior to the meeting, we're going to hold application A14/20 for 43 Stammers Drive down to the end to give the application a chance to sign on to the hearing. And so we'll move on to application A15/20 for 16 Panther Crescent. The variance requested is to permit a maximum driveway width of 5.5 meters, where an existing projecting private garage limits the driveway width to 4.8 meters. Is the applicant present with us this evening?
Yes, my name is Daniel Falzon. I'm here on behalf of the homeowner.
Great, thank you. And Caitlin, was notice served on this application, and were any comments received?
Notice was served and no written responses were received.
Great, thank you. For the applicant, town staff has recommended approval of the application, subject to 4 conditions within the staff report. 1, that the subject variance apply only to the property municipally known as 16 Panther Crescent, as shown on the site plan submitted with this application and found as figure 2 within the report, or the decision shall become null and void. 2, that the driveway widening apply only to the private side of the property above the sidewalk, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that the owner or applicant provide a tree protection measure to the satisfaction of the town's landscape architect to protect the existing mature tree, or this decision shall become null and void. And 4, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Have you received a copy of the staff report?
Yep, I've read through it and I have no issues with the conditions.
Great, thank you. Well, if you have anything to add to the application or that you wish to discuss with the committee, now is your opportunity.
I guess I'll just point out that all we're asking for is a 3% increase in width with respect to the lot width. So I believe it's extremely minor in nature. That's all I really have to say.
Great, thank you. And then do any members of committee have questions for the applicant?
No, I don't have any questions.
Seeing none, then in that case, we can look for a motion on the application. Wasif?
Mr. Chair, I move that the committee approves application A15/20 this evening on the basis that it is minor in nature, meets the 4 tests, and subject to the 4 conditions that outlined in the staff report.
thank you. And a seconder? Seconded by Cecil. All those in favor? Great. Application A15/20 is approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period.
Great, thank you.
Great, thank you very much.
Have a great evening.
You too. Okay, and similar to application A14/20, we'll be holding down application A16/20 to allow the applicant some time to log into this evening's meeting. So we'll be moving on to application A17/20 for the property at 41 Weeks Drive. The variance requested is to permit uncovered steps leading to a platform within the west interior side yard with a proposed setback of 0.3 meters from the west interior side lot line, whereas the bylaw does not permit steps leading to or from a principal building in an interior side yard. Also to permit a platform more than 0.6 meters and less than 1.2 meters in height above finished ground level to have a minimum setback of 0.3 meters from the west interior lot line, whereas the bylaw requires a minimum setback from the interior side lot line of 1.2 meters. Caitlin, was notice served on this application and were any responses received?
Notice was served on the application. One piece of written correspondence was received. It was a neighbor with some concerns regarding the existing configuration of the steps. Staff did provide a copy of the staff report to the neighbor and clarified the changes that have been proposed through this application. Staff did not receive a response back from the neighbor.
Okay, great, thank you. And is the applicant and or agent with us this evening?
Yes, I'm here.
Great, thank you. Town staff have written a report recommending approval of your application, subject to 4 conditions within the staff report. 1, that the subject variances apply only to the property municipally known as 41 Weeks Drive and as shown as figure 2 within the report, or this decision shall become null and void. 2, that the owner or applicant maintain the historical drainage on the property, or this decision shall become null and void. 3, that the existing gas meter be relocated in consultation with Enbridge Gas Distribution and the town's building services section to a location that does not impede access to the uncovered steps, or this decision shall become null and void. And 4, that the owner or applicant obtain all necessary building permits from the town's building services section, or this decision shall become null and void. Have you received a copy of this report?
Yes.
Great. And do you have any questions or comments on the conditions recommended by staff?
No, just to let you guys know that the Enbridge gas meter has already been moved.
Oh,
Oh,
Sorry, I'm losing my voice. Sorry.
Not a problem. Maybe just a quick question for staff on that condition. Has that been confirmed by town staff, or does that need to be confirmed by staff still before that condition can be satisfied?
That, to my personal knowledge, I have not received confirmation on that. I don't know if it happened just recently.
Yes.
But that, okay. So
yes,
it
was just done last week.
Okay, so we would just require you to submit some photos and show the new location of the gas meter.
Absolutely.
And then that condition can be satisfied.
You got it.
Great. And for the applicant, do you have anything else you'd like to add to the application before us this evening?
No, that was it.
Great, thank you. And are there any questions from committee members for the applicant or staff? Seeing none, then in that case, if we can look for a motion. Cecil?
Mr. Chair, subject to all 4 conditions as required by staff, I move to approve application A17/20 to permit uncovered steps leading to a platform within the west interior sidewalk as submitted, as it is minor in nature, desirable for the appropriate development and use of the land, and it's in keeping with the general intent and purpose of the official plan and the zoning bylaws. I move to approve.
Thank you. And do we have a seconder? Seconded by Wasif. Thank you. All those in favor? Great. And your application is approved, subject to the 20-day appeal period.
Thank you, gentlemen.
Great. Thank you.
Thank you. Take care. Bye-bye.
Great. Okay, so we can circle back on our other applications for this evening. Have we had any additional individuals log in for the meeting this evening?
No, Mr. Chair.
Great, thank you. So I will leave it to committees to decide whether we would like to proceed with these 2 applications in absence of the applicant's attendance, or if we would like to hold them down to another meeting in the future.
I didn't quite get it. Was there any responses from the community that was received on these particular applications?
Through the chair, both applications notice was served and no written responses were received for either of them.
Great.
My concern, Mr. Chair, on both of these to proceed without the applicants is that one has 5 conditions and one has 6. And I'm just concerned, I would love to hear from the applicant or their agent that they're okay with those conditions before we approve them. That's my only concern, and they're not, quote unquote run of the mill ones. It's they're both a little bit more complexity or nuance to than a regular standard application. So that's my only concern, which is what leads me to recommend that I feel more comfortable if we move it out.
Thank you. Cecil, any thoughts?
I would tend to echo those same concerns that WASF has, and I would think that it would be in the best interest to hold off on it until we hear from the applicants.
Okay, great, thank you. I'm of the same opinion, particularly with A16/20, just given the scope of the proposal. I think we agree that we're all more comfortable holding and deferring the applications to a later date. Caitlin, do we need a motion on both applications to defer, or do a single motion?
We can do a single motion, just referencing both application files.
Great, okay, thank you. Well, in that case, in discussion with members of committee, actually, no, I guess I can't make that motion, pardon me. Can the any members of committee recommend deferral? Wasif?
Mr. Chair, I propose that the committee move on the motion of deferring applications A620 and A1420 from this evening, July 29th agenda to our next meeting in August, or the next scheduled meeting for the Town of Ajax Committee of Adjustment, on the basis that neither applicant nor their agents are here present representing the application and or being present to answer any questions.
Great, thank you. And is there a seconder on that motion?
Second.
Great, and all those in favor? Great, thank you. So applications A14/20 for 43 Stammers Drive and application A16/20 9 Buggy Lane are deferred to the next hearing held by the Committee of Adjustment. Okay, and that concludes the application portion of our meeting this evening. Moving on to other business/new business, if anyone has anything that they would like to discuss.
I guess our next meeting would be on Zoom as well.
Computer's dying.
Just
realized I wasn't plugged in.
Yes, Cecil, as far as I'm aware, yes, the next meeting will be on Zoom, but we will keep you updated if there's any change to that.
Okay, thank you.
Thanks, Caitlin. Have staff started moving back into the offices yet, or is it still relatively work from home?
Mainly, everyone's still working from home. There are some limited services at Town Hall. I believe you can go in to get items commissioned, marriage licenses. It's mainly services through the Legislative Services Office. Planning is still working from home, Planning and Development Department.
Well, is there any other business that members of committee or staff would like to discuss? And we can look for a motion to adjourn.
Chair, I move to adjourn.
Great, and a seconder?
Yep.
Wasif, thank you. All those in favor? And this meeting is adjourned. Thank you.